Episode 408, How to Have Empowered Eating, Kevin Burciaga.
The Awaken Your Alpha podcast.
Hi, I'm Adam Lewis Walker, founder of Awaken Your Alpha, the #1 personal leadership podcast network. That is also a best-selling book, Awaken Your Alpha, Tales and Tactics to Thrive, and also a TEDx talk, Awaken Your Alpha, How to Rise Up. You can see a theme here, but please do check these out. If you like the talk, if you like the podcast, you will love the book. The book is the best of the best, and it's available on Amazon.
This podcast is brought to you by the Talk Accelerator, helping thought leaders increase influence, income, and impact by achieving their talk.
If you'd like to find out more about how you can get onto the red spot, please do head over to talkaccelerator.com. That's talkaccelerator.com. How to secure and smash your own TEDx talk. You can also book in your complimentary idea clarity call there to talk through any potential ideas you may have.
Get to the podcast.
Right, this week we're going to be talking all about empowered eating. We have Kevin Burciaga on the line. He is a physical therapist. He helps people with their eating disorders. He's a quality guy. I've met him in person. We've done a lot of collaborations already. I'm sure there's more in the future. Future TEDx speaker as well, I'm very confident. But firstly, Kevin, are you ready to awaken your alpha today?
I am ready.
Awesome. So that was a very brief introduction. What would you like to add or highlight? What are you all about at the moment?
I am helping people eat right anytime, anywhere.
Ooh.
So that's what I'm about.
I like it. I like that. Again, I thought I was short and you've gone straight to the point. So if that perks your interest, this is the episode to listen into. I just want to jump into your origins. Where are you originally from? Where are you speaking to us from today? I found out just now your dad was a Marine when you was born. So I got a little bit of history, but tell us a little bit about kind of the journey and the origins.
I didn't think I would end up here, and who knows where I'm going, but I was born in Tampa, and my dad was a Marine, and he was stationed there. But I spent most of my childhood near Washington, D.C. Then I went back to Florida for grad school, where I trained for physical therapy. And then I actually moved to Texas, and my career has taken me to 4 different states. Right now I'm in Central California. Who knows where I'm going after this? So it's been a journey so far, and who knows what the next step is. It's been exciting. I'm an itinerant physical therapist, so I kind of go where the contracts are. I would like to go back to Texas at some point.
Talk to us about likely your awakening moment, but what got you into specifically eating disorders as well? Because I know you've had some history with that personally as well.
I never intended to do what I'm doing now. It's just that's how my life unfolded. It started when I was 20, and for whatever reason, I got really interested in fitness and health and nutrition. That's not what I was studying in school. Actually, I was studying geography. I got a BS in geography, if you can believe that. But on the side, I was always studying, the fitness and the diet. What should I eat? And that was fine, but pretty soon my health started to suffer. I was losing weight, had no sex drive, and had no muscle mass. I was really weak. I was anemic, going from doctor's appointment to doctor's appointment. And so my original intention was to get healthy, and now my health was trashed.
Yeah. So why do you think it went so wrong? Like you say, you had the right intention, and then it just basically.
I think I lost focus. I think the original intent was fine. Be fit, be healthy. I mean, who doesn't want to do that?
Yeah.
But then eventually that evolved into, I want to be lean, and I don't want to be overweight and chubby and soft, and I don't want to have a dad bod, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's funny how fast that goal shifted, and I lost that focus. I wish I had never done that, because the original intent was fine, but the execution was off.
When did you notice, or how long did it go too far and wrong before you had that awareness to think, okay, this is not good?
What's interesting is that there was no reason for me to modify my diet at all. So before all this, when I was 20, I was fine.
I mean, when was rock bottom in terms of your eating disorders and the problems around your health, and when it didn't go so well?
Yeah, I was in denial for first couple of years, even though I was anemic, even though I was getting injured, even though people were giving me feedback, even though I was always weak, I still didn't
What
make
was
any
some of the
change.
feedback? What, because again, this would be interesting for if anyone's listening to this and they're like, I'm not quite there, or I think I'm healthy, or I'm quite lean. What was some of the feedback you were getting, so people can maybe think, actually, a few people have said that to me potentially. You know, put us into that kind of experience.
They were telling me how thin I was and how I didn't look right, and commenting on my behavior. So I knew something was awry, but I was in denial. I literally thought I was doing the right thing. Uh, Looking back, it was obvious I wasn't, but I was so obsessed with having this like lean fit body that I just didn't want to hear anything. And I was just going to do what I wanted to do. And every time I heard criticism, it only reinforced the behavior.
Interesting. Wow. And what were some of the things, that's obviously the mindset, and that's very interesting, but what were some of the things that you think, like, fundamentally you really kind of didn't quite get the balance or just went too far in certain areas? So I'm sure some things that you're doing maybe in more in moderation wouldn't be too bad, but where were some of the key things where you feel like, knowing what you know now, and if helping other people, you're like, oh, you need to stop doing that, or you need to do a way less of that and more of this? What are some of your thoughts around that, and where you some of the core things that you really got the balance wrong?
Yeah. So what did I go to wrong? I cut out entire food groups. I literally weighed everything
Oh my
that I
goodness.
ate. I mean, it's massive waste of time. But.
I've known someone before, like, I feel like, I'm not going to mention anyone, but I'm saying I've known someone before, and I felt like, in terms of that obsession, their whole life was food, because when they weren't eating, they were prepping food for the next eating session. And then as soon as they'd finished, that was their whole life, because their food took so much prep, and like everything was weighed. So apart from physically, that was taking up all their time, mentally, that's all they thought about and talked about. And it was exhausting, and it was it just became an obsession. And that person as well, they took it too far, and that was an unhealthy phase for them, with the intention of being healthy. So I mean, what was your lifestyle like around that time?
Like that, always prepping, always planning, multiple meals a day. It was almost like that was my entire schedule, and it was my singular focus in life. It wasn't school, it wasn't work. I didn't have any goals or ambitions at this time. I think that was part of the problem. Like, I didn't sit down and think about what my life was going to look like in 5 or 10 years. I was just aimless, not going anywhere. Just wanted to graduate school and get out of the house, but really nothing tangible. I literally don't know what I thought my life was going to be like in 5 or 10 years. I was just so focused on my fitness and my performance and my diet, and I ignored everything else that mattered.
What was kind of your moment where you snapped out of this, and because obviously it's a tough rut to be in, like you say, it's being reinforced when people are kind of like, hey, by the way, or just like coming from I'm assuming some of them from a place of wanting to help, or just like this, and that's really reinforcing your kind of your bad habits and getting more obsessed in some ways. So when was the moment when you made some big changes? And how quick did it turn around? How did you get out of that rut? Because I know there will be people listening to this who have either been in that rut, heading into that rut, or are currently in it now.
Well, my brain did that for me. So after a couple of years, I started to chew food, but then I would spit it out. So just like chew it, spit it, chew it, spit it, chew and spit it. And it was it was really addictive, because it was like I could have that rush, but then not ingest any of the nutrients. Of course, now I know that I was ingesting some of it, but I pretended I wasn't. So now I wasn't even swallowing food. I was just chew, spit, chew, spit, chew, spit. And then that eventually turned into binge fast, binge purge. And it's just like this cycle that went on for multiple years. So that's how I got out of that initial stage.
Yeah. In terms of eating disorders, I suppose it might be easy to say which ones did you not have, or which aspects did you not kind of do, or was it so you was throwing up, you was on purpose by the sounds of it, you were obviously chewing and spitting, so you don't even need to throw it up at that point, you just spitting it out.
The only thing I didn't have was full-blown anorexia. I don't think I ever reached that point. I was pretty close.
Yeah.
It's pretty close, but I would call that orthorexia, just, you know, this rigid obsession with my diet, but never to the anorexic stage. But
Yeah.
everything else, yeah, pretty much did it.
Wow.
Over the
So,
course
and when
of-
you was obviously doing all of these things, or, you know, in succession, what were some of the results or consequences to you in terms of, like you said, you was getting injured more? What were some of the things that you noticed it in terms of compared to how you are now that happen in your daily life? You just mentioned mood and you know, injuries, and I mean, were you very susceptible to illnesses and things? Talk to us about the consequences.
well, in the early stages, so when I was 21, 22 and orthorexic and underfeeding myself, yeah, it's stress fractures and low testosterone, no sex drive. I would always get really tired around 1 or 2 in the afternoon. I would just have no energy. My legs were heavy, didn't want to do anything. I was just tired, wanted to go to sleep. So I had all of these symptoms. I knew something was wrong, but I just kept denying it. I could not make myself feed myself properly because I was so afraid of gaining weight, even though that was ridiculous. I was 22 and training for triathlons. It's like, what did I have the fear? It was just irrational fear.
Yeah, I know you talked about cutting out whole food groups, and as a former athlete, I should say, I like to think of myself as an athlete permanently, but yeah, the former athlete is fair. I always felt like carbohydrate is an athlete's best friend. What was your thoughts, obviously, doing things like triathlons, and which food groups did you almost completely cut out? And carbohydrates, for example, what was your relationship to that carbohydrate when you was training and obviously going through all these problems?
I wasn't anti-carbohydrate, but I didn't eat a lot of starches.
Okay.
And so I started off cutting out red meat, and then I didn't eat a lot of dairy. So there goes dairy, there goes red meat. I was having some fish, lots of fruits and vegetables. I wasn't even eating potatoes and like whole grains and so like rice and quinoa. I wasn't even eating that. I was just eating fruit and like really boring, bland cereal. And maybe a handful of nuts. It was a really poor diet.
Yeah.
Especially for 22, 23 and working out 1-2 hours a day.
Yeah.
They just put me on a testosterone supplement. At first it was a patch, and then it was this tube. And so I had the break with
So they tested you and like officially got that your testosterone was through the floor kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember at one point it was like 30 nanograms per deciliter. And for somebody that age, that's extremely low.
I was going to say, yeah, 22, 23. I mean, what would give the people the guidelines of what would you think would be the average and then high testosterone, but even for that age, for example?
I would say minimum 200, 250. For 22-year-old males, but probably more like 700 or 800.
Yeah.
You know, maybe even close to 1,000. But I knew that. No libido, no sex drive, no interest in women, inability to repair damaged tissue. The signs were all there. It was obvious.
Yeah. You're in denial. So what snapped you out of it? When was can you think of that kind of that, I'm on a show like this, we call it the awakening moment of when you're obviously in denial, kind of aware about it. And then at one point you turn the corner and you've got to start fighting back, as it were, and getting back to where you are today. So what was it in the end?
That took a long time. So like I said, what got me out of orthorexia was first episode of chewing and spitting. Right. That's when I started losing control. Like I guess I could only control my diet for so long, and then it's like snap one day. Still can't explain it.
Yeah.
But then so then after many years, 20s, grad school, early 30s, where I'm in this constant cycle of, binge fast, binge restrict, and inability to control what goes into my mouth, inability to just eat regular meals on a consistent basis. What I realized that I had to change, and I had to change now. And today was going to be the best day to do it. Yesterday was better, but yesterday's gone. So today was better. It was never going to be easier to make the change. So I could wait a month, a year, whatever, but it's only going to be harder then. Nothing or nobody was going to do it for me. And I had all of the willpower and strength that I was ever going to have. it was those revelations, because it was really easy to say, well, tomorrow it'll be easier. Tomorrow I'll have more willpower. Tomorrow I'm going to be Superman. Tomorrow. And so there's this quote. I think it's a Tony Robbins quote. And he says, the road tomorrow leads to a place called nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, the road someday leads to a place called nowhere. Whichever one it is. That was always me. It was like, tomorrow I will. And it's hard to look in the mirror and realize, oh no, I've actually got to make those hard decisions now.
Yeah. At what point did you feel like you got any kind of positive reinforcement in terms of your moods, your body, and thinking, oh, this feels a lot better. You know, I'm not as tired as I was. And so then once you're on that sort of track, I imagine it gets a lot easier, because you'll feel, oh, okay, here we go. But how long and what were some of the first positives that you personally noticed that really reinforced that this is the way to go?
I know this is going to sound kind of superficial and vain, but when old clothes started to fit better, when the number on the scale started to go down, when people told me that I looked better and I looked healthier, when I could get on a treadmill and run again. Because when I was, well, let's just say like high 60s kilograms or low 70s, it was hard to run. I couldn't even run anymore. Couldn't swim. I couldn't do the stuff that I used to do.
So, but you had the higher weight, but then obviously when you had the eating disorders, your weight went right down, and then eating problems still, but your weight was up?
So initially when I was in college, when all this started, my weight went down.
Yeah.
And then with chewing and spitting and binging and binge fasting, it went up, and then there were some times where I could control it better, and then it went down. I mean, it's just this constant cycle. But once the behavior stopped, the weight stabilized. So it's not like I had to go on some really strict diet to get back to where it was. Like once I stopped the binging and these, you know, overeating episodes, then it went down.
And if you don't mind me asking, I mean, how tall are you? What's your sort of rough weight now? Just to give people an idea of, you know, where you're at.
Yeah, I guess we should use English units.
You can go for both if you can. That'd be impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll start with the English units first. It's 5 feet 4 inches, and about, well, because I always measure in kilograms, so I guess about 132 and 34, somewhere in that range.
What, pounds? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
pounds.
The American one. Yeah.
Yeah, the American one. I say English.
I think in kilograms, or I mean, this really freaks some Americans out. It's stones.
Oh, don't go with stones. Yeah. I'm 6 stone 7, or I don't even know. Yeah. I guess 1 stone is what, like 6 kilos or something.
So I'm 5'8" and a bit. Short people always add the extra halves here and there as well. So I'm 5'8", and I'm about 12 stone, 12 and a half stone, 12 and a half stone, usually around there. And it's about 70 something kilograms. Pounds wise, that's the American one that always, I'm 170 something, maybe.
Yeah.
I haven't weighed myself for a long time.
I don't even think my scale has stone. Maybe it does.
I'd imagine it wouldn't. Again, it's normal for people from England to just say, oh, you're like 12 stone, 13 stone. And I didn't think anything of it until I kind of mentioned that around some American relatives here. And they were just like, what? What do you mean stones? Like how big are these stones? Like small, a pebble or like a rock? And I'm like, oh, I suppose, yeah, that does sound quite strange if you're not used to it. Yeah. so anyway.
I think, if I had to guess, I'm just under 10 stone.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds about right. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to start to wrap this up with the alpha rounds. And actually, I'm going to start that with, what are some of the key things? So someone comes to you, what are some of the really fundamentals to get right if you want to have a better relationship with food and have empowered eating?
First of all, you have to know what it is that you want. Like, what's your ideal outcome? And then identify the habits and behaviors that you need to eliminate. Okay, so where you are now and where you want to go, and then what's the difference between that? Okay, and then what habits do you need to bridge that gap? And I would say the other thing too is get started now, because it's not going to be easier. You know, but for years what I would do, I would set this date in the future and be like, oh, it's going to be easier then. it's going to be easier next week, next month, next whatever. And it never was. It was just this constant game. I call it chasing a mirage.
Yeah.
And it never ends. It's like trying to chase the end of a rainbow. It's like, we're almost there. We're almost there. We're almost there. and you never reach any, and you end up spending a lot of time chasing something that doesn't exist.
And what's your thoughts on sugar? Consumption of sugar has obviously skyrocketed, so, in the last 20, 30 years, especially in America, but also in the world. So what are your thoughts around that? Accepted norms, which I can't stand accepted norms, but just because that's not a good thing, just because everyone's, allowing these things to creep in. So what are your thoughts around that?
I'm not as anti-sugar as some, some fitness professionals. Yes, sugar consumption has increased, but so has total calories. And so has consumption of vegetable oils. Yes. And so has takeout food, or how do they say in Britain? They carry out, or
takeout works. Yeah, I mean,
takeout works. Or
I feel like in Britain we get, I suppose, I don't know, because we consume so much American TV and movies, especially back in the day, and so I feel like we get what we, and then the variations, the ones that always throw me that I'm like, what is that? Is tap, or you guys faucet, as I say, faucet. See, I don't. Why can't it just be a tap? That stuff like that. But yeah, take out, carry out, it all makes sense. But yeah.
Okay. wait. Yeah. So tap water.
Yeah, exactly. So you guys say tap water, yeah?
Yeah, it's like what comes out of the pipes.
But you just said it there. Tap water is what comes out of the tap.
Yeah.
But you guys say, you go, tap water is what comes out of the faucet, in theory.
Yeah, so the faucet.
Where is this word faucet? I'm like, who invented this? There's certain words where Americans have just gone, I know Britain causes a few problems over here. We're not going to use their word. We're going to make up a new word just for the sake of it.
Yeah, we're gonna make up words like faucet and burglary, and we're gonna really throw them a curveball.
And I know it's the same word, but don't get me started on aluminum. So anyway, it's aluminium, but I don't know who is saying it right. I don't know, because as English people, we like to miss out letters just because that's how we roll. So, and I feel like Americans sometimes really pronounce every letter in the word, like aluminum, or as English we say aluminium.
Yeah, well, who says it right? Well, I don't know. I guess the British were first, so maybe.
Well, I always have that, argument. Which language are we speaking? That's argument over. But anyway, back to this.
Well, back to sugar.
Sugars, vegetable oils, all of that. I'm always looking for stuff where they've got less ingredients in, because so many things we pick up. I'm like, why did they stick that in there? Like, they just add sugar to stuff and add and you're just like, come on.
If you want to be healthy, you can do it. Just understand that if you go to a restaurant, it probably has more salt, sugar, and fat than you're expecting, but that's just the cost of eating out.
Yeah.
Right. So don't obsess about it. You probably shouldn't eat out every day anyway, but enjoy the experience.
Definitely. Okay. And as part of the alpha round, what is really you mentioned a Tony Robbins quote, but what is an all-time favorite quote of yours, or one that just really sums up your approach to life?
And one of my quotes, and I even printed on a piece of paper, and I put it over my computer, and it said, when you're going through hell, keep going. When things are not going well, you keep going, you stay the course. Okay, like, so that's one of them, and one of them
that fits to our discussion that we've been talking about as well.
Absolutely. And the other one that came to my mind just like now was, everything is your fault. I don't know who said that. I don't know if that was Jocko Willink. I'm not.
He's a
probably
man
was
away with words.
Exactly, but that's something he would say. But yeah, everything is your fault in some way. Quit blaming others. Quit blaming the environment. This is on you. Take ownership of the problem.
Yes, like that. Right. And is there a particularly impactful book for you? Either you read it a certain crucial time, or it's just a certain thing you needed to read at that time that really flicked a switch for you, or it's just an all-time favorite one?
I would say Willpower Instinct by Kelly McGonigal. She's a psychologist at Stanford.
And having gone through the interview, from your network, who do you think would make a great interview for Awaken Your Alpha? Like, who would you think, hey, this is going to be my best guest. I recommend this person, whether they could be someone you know well, or it could be someone that you've admired from afar. And I got to hunt them.
And you've got to hunt them. Male or female, or is this?
Yep.
Okay. And you're looking for somebody who's had kind of an awakening moment.
Well, someone you think would be a good interview that's got some value to share. I mean, obviously, if it's someone in your network that, you can help at least that connection, that's always useful.
Yeah, because I know a couple of high-profile people, but that would be kind of difficult. I can get
them.
I can get him. So the first person that I listened to about business or entrepreneurship was Ty Lopez.
Okay.
That was one of the first people. He had this really good course back in the day. I don't think he sells it anymore, but it was like mini MBA, and it was just 60 hours of high quality content. It's literally the reason why I'm here now, because I listened to that course.
That's a good recommendation. Okay, I'll go hunt him. He's a controversial figure. I'd love to interview him. He's everywhere, so he's toned down a little bit. He was at one stage. You go online and it's unavoidable. You're going to see some Ty Lopez thing.
Yeah.
So it's impressive in itself. Okay, well, if anyone else springs to mind from your network, let me know. And if you want to continue the conversation with you, what's the best way to do so and connect?
You can find me on YouTube. My channel is Kevin Burciaga. And then my website is kevinburciaga.com/empowered eating.
Awesome. Well, Kevin, it's been an absolute pleasure today. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
The Awaken Your Alpha podcast. Live limitless.
This podcast is brought to you by the Talk Accelerator, helping thought leaders increase influence, income, and impact by achieving their talk.
If you'd like to find out more about how you can get onto the red spot, please do head over to talkaccelerator.com. That's talkaccelerator.com. The Talk Accelerator program, how to secure and smash your own TEDx talk. You can also book in your complimentary idea clarity call there to talk through any potential ideas you may have. What is your idea worth sharing? I'd love to hear about it, and I'd love to speak with you very soon.